Well, hello and welcome back to Read Becca. We're here today for another weekly chatty catch-up on everything that I've read, everything I'm currently reading, and everything I'm looking forward to reading, as well as some general chit-chat. And I'm joined today by my lovely co-hosts Dusty and Rue. All the dudes are joining us today. I think this is going to be a fairly rambly one as well, so gather your beverage of choice and settle in. As always, let's begin with the books. I was very tight on reading time this week, so I read a few short things, and that is mainly it, which is fantastic for Shorty September. First, I read In by Will McPhail. This was entirely BookTube influenced, I think mainly Shelley of Shelley Swearingen. She did a video about this some time ago, and it had been in my mind, and then I saw it on the shelf at the library and had to pick it up. So as you can see, we've got our character here looking in a door. It's kind of in a really beautiful, colorful art style. And the story is told in two very distinct art styles that are kind of represented there. One that's much more pencil sketch and one that's very vivid and full color. And this is it's a great story. It is not what I expected or what it started out as. It really grows over the course. So I liked that very much. I liked the story very much as well. Initially, I wasn't sure about that because we are following an artist, Nick, as he is kind of stumbling around, trying to find a way in, a way to connect with other people. And he's pretty unlikable, kind of insufferable guy who is really just very self-absorbed and doesn't listen to or have interest in other people. He's kind of just moving through his life. And so this story is very much just about him bumbling through that, struggling with that, trying to figure out if something's wrong with him or if this is normal. Why can he just not make connection with other people? Why is there not this meaningful connectedness in his life that he feels like other people have? And him struggling through that becomes this story of greater meaning. And yeah, I thought this was really fantastic. I'm so glad I finally picked it up. Yet again, one of those reasons why I've put a goal to pick up some booktuber recommendations that have been long on my list. So very glad I got to this, and I highly recommend it. I will actually say that there is some nudity. It's highly cartoony, non-graphic at all, but I know that will turn some people off, that there is sort of nudity and sex depicted very sparingly. Then I read The Gift of the Hummingbird, or A Hummingbird's Gift. I'll have it up here on audio. It was only 2 hours. So I didn't know going in, but I am fine with it, that this is actually just a chapter from one of Sy Montgomery's other books that's more broadly focused on birds. So this was perfect for Shorty September, and I had been looking for kind of a nature nonfiction to fit in for Shorty September, and this was great for that. But I think if I had read from the other larger book before and then I went to this one, I would be quite disappointed. However, Sy Montgomery is, as always, an exceptional delight. She speaks with incredible passion about animals and nature just in general, and this was no exception. So this is a very short 2-hour audiobook where we're hearing the story of her experience working with a hummingbird rehabber, mainly on juvenile hummingbirds, and the work and effort, the hardships of that experience, the challenges to them going back into the wild, and the struggles that they went through were so harrowing and compelling, and you're having a hard time waiting for them to break through and fix the problem that they're facing, while also then having things to cheer for when they have successes. So I just love that. And as I said, it was so tiny, there just isn't very much more to say than that. I enjoy the way that Sy Montgomery always kind of finds the stories that spotlight both human and animal greatness, I think. And then I have one that I have a vlog for because though it was kind of a boring weekend, I wanted to vlog for a mid-month book bash, or at least try. And so I read A Faith of Many Rooms by Debie Thomas. And so obviously you can watch that if you want more. I think it will probably only really be terribly interesting to people who are interested in faith-based books, nonfiction. And this was not what I expected at all. And it was a very mixed experience, I will say. It seemed like she initially went in implying that this was going to be some sort of manifesto for improving Christianity. And really it was much more memoir without her specifically inserting herself as an individual into it. She talked through sort of the progression and evolution of her own faith experience as a Christian from South Asia originally. And she was Christian there in a very specific sect. talked through some really interesting facts about the belief and history of that sect of Christianity, coming to the US as a child and kind of growing up in a church-involved family, and then herself as an adult being also extremely involved in teaching with the church, and having changed over that time. And so she's talking through the different things that she believes, and I found it, as I said, very, very mixed in terms of what my expectations of the book were and what was delivered, as well as some things I really enjoyed reading, and some things seemed very in conflict with one another that she was talking through. So yeah, I did get a lot out of it, I think, in terms of my own just enjoying grappling with those topics of different people's belief and how they frame that. But I had this book for my nonfiction browsing goal, which is just to go browse the nonfiction and pick up whatever grabs my eye, basically once a month. And so I'm glad to have hit another goal with that. And as far as stuff I've got ongoing, I think I only have a couple of things that are actively ongoing. Mossflower is one to get to, and my buddy read that will be ongoing for a long time. So the only new thing I think I've picked up this week is The Hidden Roots of White Supremacy and the Path to a Shared Future by Robert P. Jones. I read White Too Long from this author and very much loved it. So have been excited to get to this one. This is his newest that came out this year. And I've had a hold on the audiobook for months. I was waiting, and then it came in when I was completely booked with like BookTube price stuff and other obligations. So I've been pushing it back week on week. And finally now I'm free of BookTube price, so I can dive in. And I'm just so excited to get into it. So I think that's all for book stuff for now. We'll loop back to books. So watching wrap up, I have only watched and finished Great British Menu, seasons 8 and 9, which is insane. So this show, I don't want to talk too long about it, but I do want to really quickly go through the format. Again, I've talked through this before, so I'll put a skip point here if you've heard it before. But just very briefly, this has 45 episodes a season, and that is regional competitions in sets of 5 episodes. So 4 episodes are one for each course. It's a 4-course menu. And then the 5th is they've narrowed down 3 regional competitors to 2. And episode 5 is the 2 remaining getting narrowed down to 1 by a trio of final judges, right? So that's episodes 1 through 40 are 5-episode groupings of regional competitions. Then the final 5 are each course, the winners from every regional coming in, and 1 episode per course. Everybody cooks, and they get narrowed down to the top 3. And then number 5 is them all cooking for this grand event. And each grand event has a different theme. So I have a little bit of a quibble with seasons 8 and 9 because they're completely opposite experiences as a viewer because of the themes a bit and the brief for the chefs. Mainly, season 8 was cooking a banquet for Comic Relief, which is a comedy-centered charity fund. They do all kinds of stuff, and if you've ever seen Red Nose Day or any of that all over British TV, you'll know what that is. And then season 9 is cooking for D-Day veterans. And the experience was so opposite because the Comic Relief brief, they really wanted humor, but they didn't stop things and like clarify when everyone was getting just completely lambasted and like just blown out of the water in terms of their ratings were down to the floor because nobody was getting the brief. Like a lot of people were like trying to get through with one really humorous dish rather than having humor in all 4 of theirs. Or like some of them were literally just taking it as, well, I think that a really sharp piece of cooking could be considered wit. Like they were expecting stuff to make them laugh out loud. And so many of the chefs did not interpret the brief right, which tells me that they didn't communicate the brief well. And so it was really miserable to watch because everybody was just like having at least 1 or 2 dishes, at least, if not all of their dishes, where they were getting marked down really harshly and just getting these terrible critiques because they hadn't delivered on a brief that they didn't understand. And that was very frustrating. And then to the complete opposite, the D-Day brief in season 9, like everyone went all out. Everyone like really connected with history, with family members who had actually served, and people they had direct connection with. They looked into and found those connections. They went and saw the places where it happened. I mean, it was like all out, and they really took that to heart. And it was just a totally different experience. So I think that generally the show learned their lesson about making the brief very clear. But yeah, it was just very miserable watching season 8 because it was a great brief, and a lot of the dishes that came through as actual humor worked and were really fun and interesting. But yeah, it was just a little brutal along the way. So that was the only thing that I watched. There was a lot of waking up at 4 in the morning and watching Great British Menu until passing out for another half hour or whatever. So I think that's all for all of that. So onward to the ramble. So I'm facing now a long break off work, and I probably don't really know what to do with myself yet. I'm kind of in that mindset of, like, if you've ever finished a marathon or anything similar, there's a period afterward where it hasn't caught up to either your brain or your body, that you've actually stopped. And so there's a lot of pacing and wandering about, that sort of thing, because it takes a little while to catch up. So I think I'm there right now. And I will just need to take at least several days to a week to turn it off and back on again, more or less, the equivalent of that. So lots of rest, and that will probably mean a lot of reading. I don't have any like massive plans worked out yet, but there will be a lot of downtime, and certainly in the immediate future. So in order for this not to become a massive hassle for either me to make or you to watch, I think I'm probably going to have to kind of group things that I read. In my mind, I think I'm going to read like 100 books in the next couple of weeks, and I don't think that's realistic, but you've been here, if you have watched videos from me at all, you know how much I read as is while I'm also working 50 or 60 hours a week. So if I'm not working 50 or 60 hours a week, I potentially could read a lot, or I could not. That definitely is something I want to address over this time. I realized while I was thinking about it that just all of my hobbies have gone out the window this year. It has been a very, very stressful and difficult year, and especially the past couple of weeks have been extremely full on. So things like I haven't done a puzzle this year, just basic things like that. I haven't played any video games. I'm even loading up Stardew Valley just to mindlessly do stuff. So I need to do some of that. Crochet projects have all fell by the wayside this year. So yeah, I need to reintegrate some of that, but reading certainly will be a big chunk. And so I think I'm probably going to do less of chronologically what I've read and save some of the things I've been reading to talk about when I finish a chunk. Like if I am finishing a series and I'm going to read multiple sequels, I may wait till the last book to actually bring it up here. I also probably am going to want to do some vlogs. I know at least 2 projects I have in mind, and I have huge lists of projects and books on a theme that I would like to read together for a vlog, so that these sort of weekly wrap-ups are not getting too cumbersome. So also this would be a great time if you have suggestions for themes or topics that you would like to see. I would certainly like to factor that in and consider that outside of all of the mini lists that I have to prioritize what you're interested in too. So if you have themes or topics you would like to see a vlog where I read, 2 or 3 books on that theme, let me know, because this is the time for me to accommodate that. Yeah, so I think that's going to be mainly my next several weeks. It's going to be very low key and a lot of reading and a lot of, as I said, reintegrating some hobbies that I haven't been doing, and enjoying hopefully some nicer weather. We very much are entering into festival season here, and I don't know how much I want to make myself things to do to fill my time and like force myself to go out and do that stuff. I do need to kind of keep it low key, at least for a while, but there certainly will be lots to do. I already went to the park today, and I was going to one park, and the park had a 5K. So I passed on that park and went to another park, and that park had a classic car show, a British classic car show. And so instead of walking the trail there, I just walked the classic car show, and it was really lovely. It was massive. So I got in right about my mile that I wanted to walk, and just wandering and looking at cars that I know nothing about, but they were very pretty and shiny. And so yeah, that you can tell by multiple parks having events going on. We really are in full swing. So I don't know how much of that I will be recording or sharing in vlogs too much. I think I probably will try to keep vlogging low key, because at least right now, editing is feeling like a big effort. So that's been delaying me on a lot of videos lately. So I'm gonna try to get back to editing some stuff I've had, You probably have not even noticed, but I have only been putting out these weekly videos the past couple weeks and not anything between because of that reason. So yeah, so hopefully I will get back in the swing of videos, making videos and editing as well. So just lots going on, or lots of nothing going on, really. I'm trying to shift to adjust to my usual routine not happening. So I think really that's it. So let's jump to recommendations. I have a couple of really great recommendations this week. The first is from Heather of Too Many Heathers, one of the main hosts of Shorty September, has been doing regular vlogs for Shorty September. So you may have missed this in the smattering of vlogs, but she did a vlog that included a big retelling of a Welsh folktale with like images, and it's so good. If you've not watched Heather before, she is hilarious, and so this is a very, very funny retelling of the folktale. And you will be very entertained, I think, regardless of your feelings on Welsh folklore. And then the other is Religion for Breakfast. I try not to recommend every single thing they do, but I really love that channel, and they did a wonderful video on translations of the Bible. So I think you will enjoy this, not only if you are interested in the Bible or religion. It's very bookish related because it's so focused on the different translations. So if you have an interest in translation, in antiquity at all, or even the history of the church, that sort of thing, that would definitely be of interest to you. So I so enjoyed it. It was super engrossing, and while it is a little long, they managed to condense and make into a rapid fire format stuff that took basically like two semesters to cover for me in college. So I highly recommend checking out. It's very well worth the time investment. So I think that is it for me today, and we lost Dusty, but Rue has usurped his throne. So thank you so very much for watching.